And we're live. Hey, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
Hey, everybody in the chat. I'm not going to go through and say hello to everybody, but sure appreciate everybody being there, and especially the moderators and the members. And our panel is a little bit light this evening, but Father Fish is here, so that certainly makes up for any numbers for sure. So,
Well, I'm happy to be here.
And we're honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Mike. Hi, Mike, and hi, Pam, and hi, Susie. So be sure and check out those guys' channels. And guys, if you don't know Father Fish, there may be somebody that doesn't know him. You're really missing something special. Father Fish is actually from the generation just before me, as far as fish keeping, and he knows a lot about the old ways that are proven, tried and true. And he's he is the deep dirted tank specialist, and he is a wealth of knowledge. And I'm not going to say how old he is, but you know that I'm ancient. So
I have a birthday. I have a birthday this Wednesday.
Ooh,
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you say if you want to say what it is.
Well, I'm going to be live with Mary Wednesday morning, and we're going to have a birthday party.
Oh,
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I will be 82.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were just 80. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You make me feel young.
Yeah,
You
all right.
make me feel so young.
Bravo.
Only one who could, Pam.
Honey, I don't feel young.
Well, I don't feel young right now, which is why I have my camera off. But still, the fact that you're 82 and I was feeling pretty old at 67, so there you go.
Oh my.
Father Fish, this is going to sound mean, Father Fish, and I'm going to take the luxury of paying Pam back right here. She said something horrible to me last night in fun on her stream, and she signed off too quick. So this fits perfectly. Pam, the good news is you're still alive. The bad news is you look like you died last week. So
thank you, Bob.
There's your payback for last night.
Now, will I get you demonetized? Will I get you demonetized if I say "fuck you"?
I don't know.
Because I won't say it if it'll get you demonetized. But yeah,
just as well. Right. He did have that coming, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I'll tell you off screen what she said about me, Father Fish, in front of a crowd like this. Anyway.
We're not holding back, are we?
Right. So I did ask Father Fish if he would talk about dirted tanks, and he's got a ton of video about that topic and others. And he had a Father Fish pet store, not just a fish store. It's amazing. If you haven't seen those videos, go back and look at those. Had everything in there that you could imagine. But he did lots of videos and lots of teaching on those, and he still puts out videos. He just put out one yesterday, so I knew he was live, so I called him on the phone. I mean, I knew he was right there, so I got him on the phone.
Right. Yeah.
Yay, there he is. So check out his videos, and his links will be posted as well as the others. So Father Fish, welcome. And
well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, Bob. And I certainly appreciate you. You've been in my corner from day one. From the first time I came on YouTube, which was about 3 years ago. I guess it's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
You've been a faithful friend and support from the beginning.
Oh, thank you.
And I deeply appreciate it.
Well, I have the same values and the same beliefs, and I'm old school too, so it's easy to do.
Well, the thing about the dirted substrate, I started doing this when I got to know a friend who was doing saltwater. And he was doing deep substrate saltwater. that he had learned from GARF, the Geothermal Research Facility that was located in Idaho. They've since shut down. I think their channel is still up and operational. It's called GARF. Not going to be up much longer. It is a wealth of information about how to operate a natural saltwater system that's able to grow coral, all kinds of coral. I saw that. I began. I did my first dirted tank when I was about 15. So that was a long, long time ago. And it was not successful.
Oh.
I tried it again in the 80s and failed. Tried it again in the 90s and began to understand, particularly when I met the saltwater people, began to understand that there are two primary issues with a dirted tank. One is keeping the dirt out of the water column, and the other is making sure that the dirt has enough nutrients in it that it doesn't deplete in about a year. I had a conversation a couple of years ago with Bob Barr and some of those folks, and he very strongly opposed what I was doing. He said the problem with putting a sand cap on the dirt is that it takes a very long time for that detritus to sift down through the sand and get into the dirt layer. And he's absolutely right about that. It takes about a year.
Wow.
It takes a long time. So that was one issue. Another issue was that when you set these things up at the beginning, the chelation process, the chemical and biological activity is so strong that if the dirt layer is too deep, it will blow up the tank and foul it. If the sand is not deep enough, the plants will, the roots of the plants will burn up.
Mm.
Once that chelation process occurs and all of the chemicals that are in there react to each other and calm themselves down, and it becomes chelated, then the roots can get down into there and it begins to thrive. That takes at least 6 months. So for the first 6 months, there are bubbles bubbling up out of the water.
Yep.
Now, they're not a problem. It's nitrogen gas primarily. It's not anything that in any way is dangerous. So here's the thing. I had people coming into my shop failing. Every time they set up a tank, they failed. They would put an inch of gravel in it, start feeding it, put filters in, do water changes. Within a month to 2 months, their fish were dead or dying. They break it down, start over again, same thing happened. So I began teaching brand new people how to do a natural aquarium based on gardening. If you know how to garden, if you know how to raise peas and carrots, maybe not carrots, maybe
Tomatoes.
tomatoes, right? If you know how to raise vegetables, then you know how to keep a dirted deep substrate tank. The difference is in a tank that's less than 50 gallons, you only want an inch of dirt. Any more than that, and it will erupt through the sand. 2 inches of sand, 1 inch of dirt, 2 inches of sand. Now, I've had people tell me that's too much sand. Lucas tells me you don't need that much sand. But Lucas does not put dirt in his tanks.
Right.
He puts sand in his tanks. He's got them about 2 inches deep, which is correct. And in 6 months to a year, that sand has developed through detritus sifting down into it, has developed a nutritious foundation. So he has exactly what I start with. It's taken him 6 months to get there, but he got there. On balance, I'm not sure one way is better than the other. The difference is if you put that dirt in and you add to it elements such as iron oxide, that's probably the critical one. I like to use, I like to use Epsom salts because I like the magnesium and the sulfates that are in there. By doing all of that, by putting these chemicals in, and I actually sell a package that has a dozen different ingredients. You put 1 cup in to what amounts to a 20-gallon tank. Mix it in with the dirt, wet it, cap it with 2 inches of sand, carefully put water in, and never touch it. Never disturb that substrate. You will have the very best tank you have ever had. Guaranteed you absolutely will. Because you've created a natural environment. You've created an environment in which plants can grow, in which microfauna can grow, in which bacteria and fungus can grow. Here's the critical thing to understand. If you want a natural tank, in nature, a body of water, if you scoop out a scoop of mud from the bottom of a pond, that mud will have 1,000 different species of bacteria. It will have 400 different species of fungus. It will have several hundred species of microfauna. Now, how in the world are you going to be able to duplicate that unless you start with the very material that has all of those organisms living in it? So you start with natural environment. You lay it in the tank, no more than an inch deep. Cap it with 2 inches of sand. Any kind of sand at all does not make a bit of difference, so long as it's not water soluble. And if you want water soluble, like a calcium sand, and you've got very soft acid water, that's ideal. That's perfect. Fill the tank up without disturbing the sand. Plant the plants 1 inch into the sand, so the roots are not down in that dirt. They'll get there, but it'll take them a while. It'll take time for that dirt to chelate and smooth out and soften to the point where the plants will be able to thrive in it. Now, if you can do that, and I've had 4-year-olds do it successfully. If you can do that, you can have a tank that will last you for 20 years and more.
Wow.
I have a tank right here that's 20 years old. It was set up 20 years ago with that very same system, and it's still going strong.
My hardest thing is not touching it because I fiddle with things and I ruin them. So just don't touch it.
That's right. I remember Lee. Some of you know Lee. Lee got very angry with me when he first came on the channel. He was having trouble with his goldfish, and we were able to help him with it. He had managed to figure out how to do dirt in his tank. He had about 2 inches of dirt in his tank, and it was a mess, and it wasn't successful. So I suggested to him he put 2 inches of sand on top of it, which he did. And he then became very angry with me because he said, I don't have anything to do. My tank is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I don't need to change the water. I don't even need to feed the fish. And I said to him, well, now you've reached the level of a master where you can sit back and enjoy the very thing you set that tank up to begin with. To enjoy watching the life in it.
I've done dirted tanks for years, and one of my favorite things about dirted tanks is that when you set one up, you don't have to worry about putting anything in to cycle it, because you let it sit and it cycles itself from the nutrients in the dirt.
That's right, automatically.
Yep, so you don't have to worry about, adding something to cycle it or anything. You just set it up and sit and wait until it cycles.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The video I just did made an interesting point. It said if you want a high-tech tank, you cannot have a natural tank. If you want a natural tank, you cannot have a high-tech tank. They're mutually contradictory.
Okay.
Which I think is a big part of the reason there are people who really do not like the very idea of a natural tank. To these folks, a natural tank is one that looks natural. May not be a thing natural about it, but it looks natural.
There's a question, Father Fish. You mind if I interrupt you for questions, or do you want to help?
Yeah.
Crown Tail Half Moon says, if I placed fully submerged grown hairgrass pot outdoor and forgot it during the summer months, the water in the tub evaporated to a few cms and the hairgrass is sparse growing. Should I repot and put in more water?
I don't think you need to repot it. I think you can add water to it and it'll be, if I understood the question, it's growing even with the water level down.
Yes.
Yeah, it will. It's emergent. A lot of plants are emergent plants. In fact, most of the plants that we have in the hobby grow emergent. That is to say, they grow out of the water. And many of the farms that our plants come from are actually grown emergent. They're not grown in water. They're grown in mud, which is part of the reason that certain plants will die back when you put them in your tank,
Okay.
because the leaves are a different kind of leaf than what naturally grows in the water. Now, if you leave that alone, the roots will continue to grow and it'll send up new leaves that will do fine. So if you buy plants and they die back, just leave them alone. Let those roots continue to grow and develop, and they'll send up new shoots that will be aquatic leaves rather than terrestrial leaves. I missed that comment. What was that, Caleb?
It was your video link, how to create a low light natural tank.
Okay. Monster fish cow. Yeah.
Lori.
Let me say something about light. Well, I do a very unsophisticated aquarium. I buy shop lights. Now they're LED, which is cheap. I buy 4-foot strips, tape them together. So I've got 240 watt 4-foot strips on a 4-foot tank. I leave the lights on in a brand new tank pretty much indefinitely.
Wow.
The amount of light that you can create with a fixture does not even begin to compare to the amount of light that the sun exposes those plants to. So you cannot outcompete the sun. And by leaving that light on for a month or 2 months, it gives the plants a much better chance of being able to begin to do photosynthesis and to begin to really grow.
EJ says, Father Fish, tell them about how my plants are bright red without a CO2 system.
Yeah, EJ is, if you haven't met EJ, you need to find her channel.
Right.
She's a young woman who's been doing tags since last November. Not quite a year. In the last 2 months, she has spawned in her tanks and raised babies of scarlet batis and pygmy sunfish.
Oh, wow.
Molluscum evergladei. She figured out early on not just how to do a deep substrate, but how to do a food web and the importance of a food web. And the food web is really the key to being able to make a natural tank successful. It's comprised of deteriorating leaves from a body of water, a pond, a creek, whatever, that are put in the tank in small amounts. You don't want to dump a whole lot in there right away. You could foul the water. Start with small amounts. That brings in all of that fungus, bacteria, and microfauna I was mentioning earlier. And it seeds the tank with a wide range of biological activity. Oh, the reason that's important is because it creates a balance among animals and plants and bacteria that would otherwise be dangerous in the system. The reason so many people wind up with bacteria problems in their tank is they've only got 2 or 3 species of bacteria. And they take over, they run rampant, they burn off the oxygen, they begin eating everything that's in there. There's no balance to it. by bringing 1,000 different species of bacteria into that tank at the early stages. It creates a balance in which all of these animals are able to survive. And more importantly, when your little fish are laying eggs and those eggs are falling down underneath the leaves and hatching, when those babies hatch, they have an immediate source of food available to them. And that's what EJ has discovered. She did not deliberately breed these fish. Now, she did deliberately create an environment in which all of this microfauna can thrive. And so when those eggs hatched, the babies were able to find food. A baby fish needs to eat literally every minute of every day.
Wow.
If it does not eat for 15 minutes, it dies.
Oh, wow.
Because it has no fats. It has it has no built up nutrients. It has no ability to be able to sustain itself. Now, as fish grow up, they build body fat, they build mass, they're able to live long periods of time with no food at all. But brand new baby fish can't do that. So having that kind of environment where they can find food instantly and plenty of it makes it possible for them to thrive. She pulled out last week in a 75-gallon tank. She put a half a dozen Elisoma evergladi in there about 3 or 4 months ago. She's been pulling them out, finally got down to the last two, went through the tank and discovered 50 more babies in there.
Nice.
She did the same thing with scarlet batis. Exactly the same thing happened. The scarlet batis spawned, the babies were able to find natural food, they grew and thrived. So a natural tank means exactly that. It means you're creating an environment in which small fish, now I'm not talking about Oscars, I'm not talking about fish, even African cichlids, the Malawis, you can't do this with because you'd have to have them in a substantially larger environment, hundreds of gallons, to be able to make that work. But for little fish, for nano fish, this is an ideal way to be able to keep them and to have a genuinely natural environment in which those fish are going to be spawning. You'll have generations of fish in there. They'll grow up, they'll spawn. It's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, I hear people talk about how the mom is so important with fry. Is that the same principle, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's exactly right. If you look at malm under a microscope, you will find that it's full of little tiny animals. It's loaded with microfauna. Now, the malm is simply deteriorated leaves and other food waste and so forth. If you add leaves, there's been some research in the Amazon over the last few years that demonstrates that the foundation of the food web in the Amazon is the leaves of trees. Those leaves comprise the foundation of the food source for everything that's growing in the Amazon.
Wow.
They are the food for microscopic animals. And the microscopic animal, of course, is the foundation for all the baby fish.
Browntail Half Moon says, Father Fish, any tips on growing pearl wheat or Monte Carlo without CO2?
Well, I'll tell you what, the deep substrate system has more CO2 in that dirt than it is possible to create in the water column. That's what it's creating is CO2, carbon dioxide. As the waste material breaks down, what does it create? Creates CO2. So the CO2 in a deep substrate is much richer, much stronger than it could possibly be in a system where you're injecting it. That doesn't mean that these tiny little short-rooted plants like the microflora are going to be able to survive. It takes 6 months to a year for that tank to develop enough surface nutrition for things like Monte Carlo to be able to thrive. EJ's saying she's got too much pearl wheat in Monte Carlo. She doesn't know what to do with it. And her tanks have been set up for about 6-8 months.
Wow. That's
Amazing.
awesome.
That's amazing. When adding these leaves, can you clarify if it's an established tank and you have mulch, can the leaves just be leaves that are free of pesticides and that kind of thing and just be out in the woods?
You can do that, yeah. What I recommend is at some point early on, you find a way to collect some leaves from a natural body of water. That will guarantee that you're going to have the full culture that you need. You can follow it up after that with dry leaves. Not a problem at all.
Gotcha.
You need to be able to start that with natural environment. And don't be afraid of parasites. I've got a wonderful video called what is it? I keep changing the title of it. The Miracle of Parasites, or your parasites are your friend. Anything is a parasite. Anything. Anything you can put in a tank has the potential to be a parasite. All it means is that it's feeding on other things. So what's critical is to have the widest variety possible in order to be able to create a balance.
Okay.
We hear so much, as you know, so much about, oh, I'm afraid to bring stuff inside or use water from outside, or, you know, it's going to make my fish sick. And so it's not.
Just the opposite's true. There is so much misinformation. I have a Discord channel that people come on to solve problems and answer questions and so forth. And it's a lot of fun because we're able to help people get over the hump of having a genuinely natural aquarium. I think the industry continues to do a gross disservice to the hobby by trying to create, there it is, the benefits of parasites. Great video. Might be the best video I've ever done.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Laurie.
AJ said she calls her kids parasites. They feed off her money and time.
Right. All our kids parasites, right?
I name all my parasites. They're all named Bob.
See, Father Fish. She's owed another one now. Bunny Viper says, Father Fish, I would like to use your method in my 180. Have geophagus. How deep should I make my dirt and sand? Any difference? 2 inches of dirt, 3 to 4 inches of sand. Also, is the dirt worm castings under leaves? Perfect.
Yeah, those are all good parameters. Geophagus will not dig down more than about half an inch. They don't dig pits. But in a big tank like that, you can do about 2 inches of dirt and 3 to 4 inches of sand.
Nice.
And then layer leaves. Now when you start with leaves, do a small amount. Start with a small amount, and over time you can build it up and make it deeper. If you put too much in right away, it's not going to be able to sustain itself and will begin to die off and can foul the water. So start with a small amount of leaves.
Crown Tail, I think we missed this one. I'm not sure. Crown Tail asks if what's the minimum depth for soil and sand cap to be considered deep substrate? Also, do you put root tabs or liquid fertilizers in the water column?
Nothing in the water column. Nothing at all in the water column. You do want fish and plants in the water column. The fish will provide enough nutrients for those plants that are not rooted. The fish will do that just naturally, and it doesn't take many of them to do it. I usually put some Osmocote in my mix early on when I'm first setting up the substrate. Not a lot, just a little.
Yeah, I think a big part of the industry is more about profit than they are about helping people keep fish.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And the profit comes from trying to keep sick fish alive, which means you got to make them sick first.
Yep.
In order to be able to sell products to try to keep them healthy.
Yeah.
So you start out with an inch of gravel. That guarantees you're going to have a foul tank.
Yeah.
At least for a new person,
Yeah.
it does. For somebody who knows the way around, knows how to maintain it, you can get away with it. But for a brand new person, that's why they fail. Because they got an inch of gravel in there. The waste goes down into it. It rots. It deteriorates. It's accessible to the water column. It's creating all kinds of bacteria problems. It's creating foul conditions in the water, which results in sick fish.
Right.
And it happens all the time. It happens with it. It is what drives people back to the store after they spent $400 or $500 for a tank to spend another $100 to buy medication for their sick fish, and that brings them back another time to replace the fish that have died. After about the third time, generally they quit because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've tried and they've failed because nobody's given them the information they need to be able to create a simple, basic, natural system.
Or you give somebody the right information, and then these crazy people on social media think that their way is the only way and start attacking you. It's like, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, you can't do that. You can't put dirt in there. That's terrible. You can't put sand. Nothing will grow in sand. I know. Heard it all.
Yeah.
So the battle is real. The struggle is real. And those of us who have learned how to keep fish just really need to find ways to reach new folks and teach them how to set up a tank that's going to be a healthy tank. It's not hard to do. You don't have to do dirt. You can do sand. I would not recommend gravel. I would recommend sand. At least 3 inches if you're not going to do dirt. At least 3 inches of sand. And then feed very, very, very sparingly and get as many plants going in that tank as you can. But don't go out and spend a lot of money on expensive plants because they're not going to survive. Not until that tank is mature enough to be able to provide what more sophisticated plants need. Get a Nacarus, Kabamba, stuff that grows easily, Vallisneria.
I put a Nacarus in this 20-gallon deep dirted tank, and I don't think I have any water left. I think it's all a Nacarus. It was like
Right.
That's the plant I've always had trouble with. I still do. Always.
I did too until I did the dirted method. I did too. I've always had a problem until I did the natural method. And now I can grab handfuls of it and put it in another tank that's not deep dirted yet and get that back into some kind of a balance.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know Pam uses clay litter, cat litter with no odors or anything in it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mix it in with my soil.
Perfect. It's clay.
Yep.
Clay.
It's clay. I get this. You got to get the stuff that doesn't have anything added to it at all.
That's exactly
But
right.
it's like
The
it's
red
like
bag.
$3 for a 20-pound bag. So
Right.
you know.
Clay is probably one of the most beneficial things you can add to the substrate. There's a trick to it though. Now you're using cat litter, so it's already broken up. But if you've got a block of clay, you can't put that in the tank.
Right.
Because nothing will grow into it. You have to emulsify it. You put it in water and dissolve it, and then mix that in with soil. I use 3 parts of soil: potting soil, humic material like peat moss, and some kind of manure. I like to use black cow. About 50% humus, 25% potting soil, 25% black cow. And then if you mix liquid clay into that, you're adding a lot of minerals to it.
Craig Doniger's saying, what dirt would you recommend?
Potting soil. You can do anything. It really doesn't matter. You can go out to your garden or your backyard and dig up dirt. You can get mud out of a creek. Now, if you do that, it's going to be very dense, and it needs to be broken down, preferably with peat moss. That'll soften it and aerate it. And then again, no more than an inch. If you put more than an inch in, chances are it's going to blow up the tank, which could take you then months to get it resolved. Here's an interesting piece of information. If you have a tank that goes foul, what do? First thing is to get the fish out of it. The second thing is to do a partial water change, about 50%, and then leave it alone. It'll resolve itself.
Yep.
In a matter of a week, it will be sweet water again. A tank that goes foul will not stay foul.
Right.
It will resolve itself. It will balance itself out. All of the excess material that's created that problem is going to break down, the bacteria will break it down, and it will become a balanced, healthy tank again.
I found that out by accident. I had left my siphon in it and I ran upstairs and forgot about it. And when I came down, it was like 75% empty. So I just put fresh water in it and thought to myself, oh, well, I just destroyed what I've been working towards. And within a week, it was crystal clear. I've never seen it so crystal clear that I couldn't stop staring at it like, wow. Like,
yeah, water balances itself.
that was beautiful.
Is there anything you should steer clear of?
Yeah.
Craig Dunker. Good question, Craig. Yeah, I would not put piranha in with tetras. You know, I mean, don't do things that are stupid.
Yeah.
It's really, if you think about what you're doing and try to understand as best you can what you're doing, you're going to be fine.
Don't put a turtle in your deep, dirted tank.
Yeah, it'll dig it up.
Down.
It'll dig it up.
Ask me how
and
I know.
the reason that I add the kitty litter or clay to my soil too is because the clay has a good, oh gosh, I can't remember the word that you use, but it absorbs nutrients.
Yeah.
So I figure that it's like absorbed as the soil depletes, the clay is absorbing nutrients from the fish.
Like a binder.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's also releasing them to the root system.
Yep, exactly.
Crown Tail's asking, can you use chlorinated water for a plant dirted tank? No fish. I
No,
wouldn't think so.
you don't need to. The only difference is if you have ammonia in your water, if ammonia is added to the chlorine to create chloramines, ammonia, even though it's a very tiny amount, it doesn't go away, and it doesn't allow that chlorine to go away. It keeps it in a liquid solution. Plants will absorb ammonia directly. So if you load it up with plants, you're going to break down that chloramine, which will allow the chlorine to gas off and the ammonia to be absorbed by the plants. So yeah, you really don't need chemicals in a natural environment because the water in the system. Their whole job is to become stable, and they do it by their very nature. A tank does not become foul by sitting unattended for an extended period of time. If you put water in a container and leave it alone and walk away from it, 6 months later, it's going to have algae growing in it. It'll have microfauna growing in it. It will have had leaves and little bugs fall into it. It will be alive and thriving. And it does that all by itself. You don't need to do a thing to it.
They're letting us know we've got about 5 minutes till.
Wow, that went fast.
It went
Oh
very
wow, that
fast.
went too fast.
Right. Well, we started a couple of minutes late, but that was me. So.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Bob. I really enjoyed you being able to chat with people who know what they're doing.
Really honored to have you on, and I hope sometime we can have you back.
Well, I'd be delighted. Thank you.
If you could give one piece of advice to everyone about fish keeping, what would it be?
just be gentle. Take your time. Be patient. Let things work themselves out. Don't panic. If something goes wrong, sit down and fold your hands. Don't do anything until you understand what's going on. Figure it out first before you leap into doing something that will make matters worse.
Sage advice. Don't clutch the pearl, Susie.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Well,
That
thank
was
you all
amazing.
so much.
That was amazing
That
information.
was great.
And I learned something. I really did there. Even though I thought I knew all about that, I learned something. So,
Bravo. Well, thank you.
all
Yeah,
right.
please join us on Discord. It's a wonderful format. You'll find the link on any of my videos, and it'll be on my homepage as well. Great opportunity to be able to chat with people, to have this kind of conversation.
Right.
May I ask, what is Discord?
It's a chat channel or a series of channels. It's really a platform. We have about 20 different channels in it that are all topical.
Okay.
So you can go in and pick a topic, and there will be people to converse with in each of those channels. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
We even have a channel for political hardheads
Oh my gosh.
who insist on getting in trouble.
Oh, I gotta check that out.
You'll love it. You'll love it. I picked up on a few little comments you made earlier. You'll love it.
I can't remember if Discord is web-based or if you download it from the App Store. I have it, and I follow a couple of people
I
on there.
think you have to download it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can put
You
it
have,
on your phone.
you have to download it.
Discord.
And,
Okay.
and is your channel Father Fish on there? Just Father Fish?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so.
Just follow the link.
Okay. Just follow the link. Click on the link, and that'll take you there.
All right.
I
Thank
have
you,
it, by
everybody.
the way. I have a new channel that's not quite online yet. You can get to it. We haven't done much with it yet. But I have a new channel called Father.Fish.
Huh.
Father.Fish. So, join us there. We will have a store, and it'll link to Discord and YouTube and so forth.
Awesome.
Interesting.
And you still have your store on Get Gills?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And I sell this supplement. If you want to get this supplement, it's enough to be able to do 200 gallons, and it's pretty inexpensive. And it'll allow you to be able to set that system up and have it go for years.
Awesome.
Thank you for the Discord link,
Thank you, Lori.
Lisa, Larry.
Lori. Yep. All right. Thank you, sir. Very
Thank
much.
you very
appreciate
much. How come I'm full picture on there?
You're big, man. You're big.
it.
Yeah, I see that. When you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Wanted to
Thank
see
you.
you.
I love you all.
Love you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it very much.
We did too. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Father Fish.